You won't believe what just rocked the love and hip-hop world. Whispers of a DNA bombshell have erupted, and this time, it's Karlie Redd at the center of the storm. Fans are shocked as rumors swirl that Kirk Frost's deepest secret has been unmasked, his alleged paternity claim now under fire. Emotions ran high when Karlie allegedly waved proof in Rasheeda's face, demanding that the truth come out before cameras roll for the next season. Tension soared as Rasheeda, ever the defender of her family's honor, vowed she wouldn't stay silent while her husband's legacy crumbled in front of the world. Imagine the scene: Karlie, tearful yet fierce, confronting Kirk in a heated exchange that left everyone gasping. The family was left divided, some siding with Karlie's bold accusations, others rallying behind Kirk's desperate denials. As producers scramble to capture every charged moment for upcoming episodes, one question lingers. Is this the finale's biggest betrayal or just another scripted twist? With Rasheeda's voice cracking between anger and disbelief, she thundered, "If you lied about your own blood, what else are you hiding from me and from us?" Now, as cameras peek behind closed doors and alliances shatter, viewers are left on the edge of their seats. Buckle up, because this DNA drama is about to explode, and nothing will ever be the same. The room fell into a stunned hush as Kirk Frost's trembling hand hovered over the DNA report, pages rustling like a frantic heartbeat. Karlie Redd stood her ground, arms crossed, eyes blazing with vindication. Cameras whirred, capturing every second of the silence that stretched between them like a loaded gun. Rasheeda's pulse thundered in her ears as she watched the scene unfold before her, heart pounding against her ribs. The promise of happily ever after they had built together now felt like a fragile house of cards, each secret threatening to bring it crashing down. So this is it? Karlie's voice cut through the air, quiet but charged with accusation. "This is the truth you've been hiding?" She held up the first page, finger pointing to the lab seal. Kirk's face drained of color, his usual bravado stripped away by the weight of evidence. He swallowed, lips parting to form a protest, but the words never came. Instead, he stared at the report as if trying to will it into oblivion. Rasheeda stepped forward, voice catching like a sob. "Kirk, tell me it's not real," she whispered, eyes glistening. "Tell me you didn't lie about our child." Kirk's jaw clenched, sweat beading on his forehead. He shook his head, shame and regret swirling in his gaze. I thought I was protecting us," he admitted, voice barely more than a croak. Karlie's laughter was low and bitter. "Protecting us?" She echoed, stepping closer. "You called deception protection." The glare she fixed on Kirk felt like a laser, exposing every flaw. Behind her, the crew exchanged shocked glances. Social media notifications exploded as viewers at home flooded the live chat with disbelief. Fans are shocked. One comment read, "The family was left divided," another chimed in, "You manipulated the results before showing them to Rasheeda," Karlie continued, voice rising. "You changed the numbers, switched the labels. Do you know what that means?" Kirk's eyes flickered with desperation. It meant. He began, but his words stumbled. Rasheeda's breast heaved as she fought to steady herself, tears threatening to spill. She glanced at the sealed envelope Karlie had produced before, the one containing Kirk's original test. Now, the proof lay open for all to see. A sudden knock sounded at the door, and Rasheeda's younger sister appeared, phone in hand. "I got a message from Kirk's ex," she announced, voice trembling. "She says she saw the unaltered report before he doctored it." The revelation landed like a thunderclap. Cameras pivoted to capture the sister's quivering form as she read aloud the ex's text. "I have proof of the original test, and it doesn't match what he showed Rasheeda." An uneasy silence followed, broken only by the hum of equipment. Then, with a swift motion, Karlie reached into her bag and withdrew a flash drive. "And here's the communication," she said, voice steady. She connected it to a nearby monitor, and lines of text scrolled across the screen. Messages between Kirk and an unknown accomplice plotted the deception in cold detail. "Make sure Rasheeda never sees the real results," one message read. "We need this to secure our future." Rasheeda's composure shattered. She stumbled backward, pressing a hand to her mouth to stifle a sob. "How could you?" she cried, voice cracking. "How could you plan this behind my back?" Kirk's shoulders shook as he lowered his head. "I was scared," he whispered, each syllable heavy with shame. "Scared that the truth would destroy us." The camera panned over the assembled friends and family, their faces etched with hurt and disbelief. Some exchanged whispers, offering Rasheeda comfort. Others averted their eyes, unable to watch the unraveling of a love story they had cheered on. The household, once a symbol of unity, now resembled a battlefield littered with emotional landmines. Karlie leaned in, voice softer now but still pointed. "I didn't do this for drama," she said, nostrils flaring. "I did it because the world deserves the truth. And you, Rasheeda, deserve to know who you really married." Her words hit Rasheeda like a physical blow. She closed her eyes, recalling the vows they had taken, the dreams they had shared. Now each promise felt hollow, echoing in an empty room. Kirk raised his head, tears glistening. He took a hesitant step toward Rasheeda. "I never wanted to hurt you," he murmured. "I thought I was saving us from disappointment." Rasheeda's gaze snapped back to his, fury rising in her tear-streaked face. "You think I'd rather live a lie?" she demanded. "You think I'd prefer deception over honesty?" He shook his head, lips trembling. "No," he said, "but I didn't know how to tell you the truth." The weight of his confession filled the space, a mixture of regret and longing coloring his tone. Rasheeda's expression softened for a moment, but the hurt remained. She looked away, breathing shakily. Just then, a crew member stepped forward, sliding a sealed envelope across the coffee table toward Rasheeda. "This arrived anonymously," they explained. Rasheeda opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten letter from a private investigator detailing Kirk's payments for falsified dinner reports. Every penny traced, every lab culled, every signature forged. The investigation had been meticulous, the evidence irrefutable. Rasheeda read the words aloud, her voice trembling with disbelief. "He paid for a fake test, manipulated the lab, then replaced the results." She trailed off, tears falling freely now. The floodgates opened and sobs racked her frame. Karlie stepped back, letting Rasheeda collapse onto the couch. She turned to the camera, eyes shining with conviction. "Sometimes the truth is messy," she said, "but it's the only thing worth fighting for." As she spoke, viewers at home rallied behind her message, the live chat exploding with support. Justice for Rasheeda. Karlie is a hero. The family was left divided. Rasheeda's friends gathered around her, offering tissues and whispered condolences. Kirk stood apart, head bowed, tears trickling down his cheeks. His isolation was palpable. The betrayal he had orchestrated had cut deeper than any argument. The cameras lingered on his haunted expression, capturing the fall of a man once admired for his devotion. In that charged moment, the Frost household stood at a crossroads. A lie of epic proportions had been laid bare, leaving scars on every heart in the room. Alliances shifted, trust shattered, and the promise of redemption hung by a fragile thread. As the segment drew to a close, the air crackled with tension, the looming question clear. Could this fractured family ever find a path back to each other? The Frost residence buzzed with an electricity that felt almost tangible as Kirk Frost entered the room, his gaze flicking nervously to the envelope perched on the coffee table like a ticking time bomb. Every step he took seemed measured, as though he hoped to delay the inevitable moment when his carefully constructed world would implode. Friends and family had gathered under the guise of a casual get-together, but everybody knew this was anything but ordinary. Whispers rippled through the crowd like a covert current. Karlie Redd claimed she held incontrovertible proof that Kirk's paternity claim was a sham. Cameras streamed live, ready to capture each second of the reckoning. Karlie stood at the edge of the circle, arms folded, lips pressed into a firm line. Her eyes bore into Kirk with the intensity of a wildfire, refusing to be extinguished until the truth emerged from the shadows. Behind her, the production crew exchanged furtive glances, their equipment trained on the alternating figures of accuser and accused. Rasheeda hovered nearby, trembling as though caught between seeking the truth and fearing its consequences. Her heart raced, the soft hum of the production lights echoing the thunder of her pulse. She loved Kirk with every fiber of her being, but the notion that he might have deceived her cut deeper than any betrayal she could imagine. "Karlie," Kirk began, voice unsteady like a ship in turbulent seas. "Why now? Why bring this out into the open tonight?" His question hung in the air, heavy with desperation. Karlie's reply was a measured breath before a perfectly aimed arrow. "Because I waited until every stone was unturned," she said, voice low but unyielding. "I confirmed the lab's authenticity, cross-checked every signature, and traced the chain of custody. Your lies have traveled far enough." Rasheeda stepped forward, veil of tears blurring her vision. "Kirk," she whispered, voice cracking, "tell me it's not real. Tell me you didn't lie about something so sacred." Kirk's hand trembled as he reached for the envelope, his fingers brushing the paper like a man touching the brink of a cliff. He hesitated, closing his eyes for a moment as though steeling himself against the blow to come. Then, with a resigned exhale, he lifted the lid and withdrew the top page, his gaze flickering over the lab seal that proclaimed legitimacy. The rustle of paper sounded deafening in the hush that followed. Kirk's knuckles whitened as he pored over the printed results, eyes widening in disbelief. Rasheeda held her breath, every muscle in her body taut with dread. At last Kirk's shoulders sagged, the weight of truth crushing the bravado he had carried for years. "It's real," he murmured, voice raw. I'm not the father." A collective gasp rippled through the assembled witnesses. Some clutched their phones tighter, thumbs hovering over record buttons. Others pressed palms to mouths in muted horror. Cameras whirred, capturing the twitch of Kirk's lip, the slick of tears at Rasheeda's eyes, the steely resolve in Karlie's stance. Fans watching at home bombarded social media with stunned reactions. "Fans are shocked." The family was left divided. "I can't believe Kirk would do this," they typed in rapid succession. Karlie seized the moment, reaching into her purse and producing a flash drive. She approached a waiting laptop, plugged it in, and with a single click projected the contents onto a large screen. Lines of text scrolled across. Messages between Kirk and an unknown accomplice meticulously plotted the falsification. "Swap the original with the doctored report when no one is looking," one message read. "Ensure Rasheeda never sees the unaltered results." The cold, calculated tone of the exchanges hit like a punch to the gut, leaving no room for doubt. Rasheeda's knees buckled, and she sank onto the couch, her sobs muffled by the palm shielding her mouth. Kirk's voice, once so authoritative on reality television screens, cracked as he tried to speak. "I thought I was protecting you," he stammered. "I never wanted you to be hurt." His admission rang hollow against the avalanche of evidence. In the stunned silence, Rasheeda's sister emerged from the crowd, envelope clutched tightly in her hand. "There's more," she announced, voice trembling with the gravity of her revelation. She produced her own proofs. Text messages from Kirk's former flame, recordings of hushed conversations in which Kirk admitted his fear that the truth would drive Rasheeda away. The audio played through the speakers, Kirk's own voice confessing, "I'm terrified she'll leave me if she knows the real results." Every inflection, every hesitation was laid bare for all to hear. The room felt suspended in a moment of time, as though the very air refused to move while the fallout settled. Kirk's head dropped, tears spilling down his cheeks in silent confession. Rasheeda, tears streaming unchecked, stared at him with a mixture of heartbreak and fury. "How could you lie about our child?" she cried. "How could you build your life on a foundation of lies?" Karlie stepped toward Rasheeda, extending a supportive hand. "You deserve the truth," she said softly. Rasheeda took the hand, and for a fleeting instant, the two women formed an alliance forged in the crucible of betrayal. The cameras captured the solidarity in their clasped hands, a powerful image destined to define the season's most explosive moment. Just when it seemed every secret had surfaced, another bombshell detonated. A production assistant handed Rasheeda a sealed envelope from a private investigator. With shaking fingers, Rasheeda opened it to reveal a file of invoices, lab receipts, and forged signatures. Every step Kirk had taken to orchestrate the deception documented in excruciating detail. The invoices traced payments to a shadowy lab. The receipts verified doctored results, and the signatures matched Kirk's unmistakable scrawl. The evidence was incontrovertible. Kirk sank to the floor, head in hands, as the weight of his actions pressed down on him like an unstoppable force. Friends and family exchanged looks of sorrow and disbelief, some stepping forward to comfort Rasheeda, others standing back in silent shock. The production crew paused, allowing the raw emotion to unfold unfiltered, knowing this was television gold, but also recognizing the real pain playing out before their lenses. Rasheeda rose from the couch, wiping her cheeks with trembling hands. Her voice, though soft, carried the resonance of steel. "I loved you," she whispered, "with everything I had. But love built on lies is no love at all." She stared at Kirk, eyes blazing despite her tears. Kirk looked up, tears glistening on his lashes, guilt and regret mirrored in his gaze. The tension in the room was so thick it felt like a physical barrier. Karlie watched from the side, satisfaction tempered by empathy. She had sought the truth, but she hadn't anticipated the human wreckage in its wake. Rasheeda's mother stepped forward, her voice shaking with anger and pain. "You promised you'd always be honest," she scolded Kirk. "You swore to protect my daughter, and instead you used deception." Kirk offered no defense this time. He simply closed his eyes and nodded, shame eclipsing his features. As the confrontation wound down, the cameras lingered on each face, capturing the aftermath of a betrayal that would reverberate through the upcoming season. Producers signaled for a cut, but the moment lingered in the charged silence, each participant caught in the private fallout of public exposure. Fans watching at home would later replay the scene, dissect every glance and every tremor, debating Kirk's motives and Rasheeda's future. In that fraught living room, alliances had shifted, trust had shattered, and the promise of redemption hung by the narrowest of threads. Kirk remained slumped on the floor, a man undone by his own fear and duplicity. Rasheeda stood poised between heartbreak and resilience. Karlie held the mantle of truth-bearer, her crusade complete yet tinged with the sorrow of a friendship irreparably altered. The saga that began with a simple envelope had erupted into a maelstrom of emotion, and even as lights dinged and cameras rolled into the next scene, one question loomed large. Could a love betrayed this deeply ever be repaired? The aftermath of the revelation left the Frost residence in a state of stunned disarray. Rasheeda retreated to the plush armchair by the window, wrapping her arms around herself as if trying to hold together the pieces of her broken world. Kirk remained on the floor, head bowed, hands clasped tightly over the envelope that lay open on the hardwood. Karlie hovered nearby, her expression shifting from triumph to concern as she watched the two people at the center of her crusade. The cameras rolled on, capturing every quiver of Rasheeda's shoulders, every tremor in Kirk's stance. The room's heavy silence punctuated only by the soft hum of equipment. Friends and family exchanged uneasy glances, uncertain whether to approach or give space. Rasheeda's best friend, ever loyal, rose hesitantly and offered a trembling tissue. "You deserve better," she whispered, kneeling beside Rasheeda. Rasheeda accepted the tissue with shaking fingers, her tears unabated. Outside, the sun dipped low, slanting through the curtains and casting long shadows on the floor, a stark visual reminder that even the brightest days can end in darkness. Karlie cleared her throat softly, drawing attention. "I know you're hurting," she said, voice gentle, "but you both need to talk this through." Rasheeda looked up, meeting Karlie's gaze with red-rimmed eyes. "What is there left to say?" she asked, voice brittle. Kirk lifted his head, eyes wet and pleading. "Please," he murmured, voice raw with regret. "Help me make this right." The desperation in his tone cut through Rasheeda's pain, stirring a flicker of conflict inside her wounded heart. The production team signaled for a brief break, and the cameras momentarily stopped rolling. The sudden stillness felt jarring after the emotional whirlwind. A producer approached, offering water and gently asking if the crew could step out for a moment. Kirk nodded numbly, rising unsteadily. Rasheeda remained seated, hands shaking over the tissue as she tried to steady her breath. Karlie stayed by her side, the two women forming an unlikely alliance born of shared intensity. In the hallway, Kirk whispered to his longtime confidant, who had been at his side for years. "I didn't think it would go this far," he confessed, voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could control it, manage the fallout." His friend placed a hand on his shoulder. "You underestimated the power of truth," she said gently. "Now you have to face the consequences." Kirk nodded, swallowing hard as he prepared to return to the epicenter of his betrayal. Back in the living room, Rasheeda rose to her feet, adrenaline and anguish mingling in her chest. She wiped her tears, determined to confront Kirk face to face. The cameras resumed rolling at that moment, catching her first steps toward him. Karlie stepped aside, giving space but keeping her watchful eye on the unfolding scene. Love and hip-hop fans watching live held their breath, sensing the delicate balance between reconciliation and final fracture. Rasheeda stood over Kirk, who remained seated on the floor, head bowed. Her voice, though shaky, carried strength. "You owe me the explanation of a lifetime," she said softly. Kirk met her gaze, eyes shining with regret. "I'm so sorry," he began. "I was afraid." His voice broke. Rasheeda held up a hand, silencing him. "Afraid of what?" she pressed. Kirk inhaled deeply, gathering courage. "Afraid you'd leave me if I wasn't everything you deserved." The admission hung in the air, raw and vulnerable. Rasheeda's features softened for a fleeting moment, but the wound remained fresh. "You think a lie could protect me?" she whispered. Kirk trembled, tears escaping down his cheeks. "I thought it would," he admitted, "but I see now it only destroyed us." Rasheeda's tears fell once more, but there was no anger left, only profound sorrow. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she confessed. The tension rippled through the room, guests silently absorbing each heartbreaking word. Karlie moved to Rasheeda's side, gently placing a hand on her back. "Whatever you decide, you deserve honesty," she said quietly. Rasheeda nodded, uncertain whether forgiveness was possible, but knowing she needed clarity before moving forward. Kirk remained kneeling, hands clenched as if in prayer, hoping for a sliver of redemption. In a sudden turn, Rasheeda's cousin burst into the room, clutching her phone. "I found something else," she panted. An email from Kirk to his lab contact, arranging payment. She showed the screen. An email trail detailing invoices, times, amounts. The cold, businesslike tone of the correspondence amplified the betrayal. Kirk sank to his knees, burying his face in his hands, overwhelmed by the depth of his own deception. Rasheeda read the email chain aloud, each line like a dagger. "Payment sent, results to be manipulated. Ensure no discrepancies." Her voice cracked as she finished. She turned away, tears streaming freely. "This was all planned," she said, voice hollow. Kirk nodded, unable to meet her eyes. The living room felt like a courtroom, judgment rendered by a woman he still loved but could no longer recognize. The cameras closed in for close-ups. Kirk's tear-stained face, Rasheeda's anguished profile, Karlie's steady vigil. In that moment, every viewer sensed the gravity of what lay before them. Two people whose lives had intertwined in love and trust now at risk of irreparable fracture. The producer quietly signaled that the segment would end on this cliffhanger, leaving the audience to wonder, could love survive a betrayal so profound? As the lights dimmed and the crew prepared to cut, Rasheeda took one last look at Kirk. Her eyes were weary but resolved. "I need time," she said. "Time to heal. Time to decide if there's a future for us." Kirk's shoulders shook with silent sobs as she turned and walked away, Karlie matching her stride. The door closed softly behind them, leaving Kirk alone in the center of the room, surrounded by the wreckage of his choices. The screen faded to black, the perfect setup for the next explosive episode in a saga of deception, heartbreak, and the enduring question of whether truth can ever truly set them free. The hush that followed Rasheeda's departure left Kirk alone on the floor, the envelope of falsified DNA results clutched in his shaking hand. The cameras captured every second of his silent torment. the way his shoulders heaved with each ragged breath, the glint of tears on his cheekbones, the hollow echo of his own disbelief. Outside the window, evening shadows stretched long across the hardwood floor, as though the daylight itself recoiled from the wreckage inside. Moments later, Rasheeda returned to the center of the room, flanked by Karlie and her sister, their faces set with hard resolve. Kirk looked up, eyes bloodshot, voice barely a whisper. "I know you're right to hate me." Rasheeda's gaze softened just enough to catch him off guard. She perched on the arm of the couch, keeping her distance but not turning away. "Hate isn't the issue," she said quietly. "It's the betrayal. I need to understand why you thought deception was better than honesty." Karlie retrieved a tablet from her bag, scrolling through the messages she'd uncovered. She handed it to Rasheeda, who studied Kirk's words in cramped digital font. "We'll fix it before she finds out. Trust me, you owe it to us. Don't let the truth ruin our story." Reading each line aloud, Rasheeda's voice trembled with pain. "You planned this," she said, tears glossing her voice. Every lie was calculated. Kirk bowed his head, shame making him shrink in on himself. "I thought I was protecting you," he repeated, voice brittle. "I was wrong." The room felt cold as Rasheeda rose, pacing slowly. Friends and family drifted to the edges, uncertain whether to intervene or respect her space. Kirk struggled to follow her, finally rising unsteadily. "Please," he said, voice cracking. "Let me explain." Rasheeda halted, back to him. "Go on," she said, tone flat. Kirk took a breath, gathering the courage to speak the truth he'd hidden for too long. "Years ago," he began, voice low, "I met someone before I met you. We got a DNA test together, but the results were inconclusive. I panicked, felt like a fraud if I couldn't prove what I wanted most, that I could be a father." Rasheeda let the words hang, searching his face for honesty. Kirk swallowed. "When we found out about our baby, I convinced myself the timing was right to resurrect that old test. I thought if I could just prove it, we'd be safe, happy, like our future was guaranteed." His admission echoed in the quiet room, punctuated only by the hum of the ventilation. Rasheeda's breath hitched. She wrapped her arms around herself again. "So instead of talking to me," she whispered, "you stole our chance to choose." Kirk closed his eyes, the weight of her words settling in his chest. "I was afraid you'd leave me," he confessed. "Afraid that without proof, you walk away." Rasheeda shook her head slowly. "Love isn't proven by papers," she said, tears spilling over. "It's built on trust." Karlie stepped forward, voice gentle. "We all make mistakes," she said, "but some mistakes cross lines you can't uncross." She glanced at Kirk. "You lied to the woman you vowed to protect." Kirk nodded, breathing shallow. "I know," he said, "and I'm ready to face whatever comes." For a moment, Rasheeda stood silent, eyes locked on Kirk, as though weighing every ounce of devotion she'd ever felt. The room stilled, as if holding its breath. At last, she exhaled and sank to the couch's edge, arms braced on her knees. "I need time," she said, voice firm but broken. "I can't just snap back to who we were." Kirk knelt before her, head bowed. "Take all the time you need," he whispered. "I'll wait." Outside, the cameras cut to commercial, the studio lights dimming slightly. Behind the scenes, producers murmured over footage, already planning next week's teaser. A private conversation between Rasheeda and her closest confidants, weighing her decision to stay or go. Fans watching live erupted with speculation online. Would Rasheeda forgive Kirk? Could their marriage survive this betrayal? Hashtags trended in seconds. Hashtag Nexposed. Hashtag Frost Family Crisis. Hashtag Rasheeda asks Kirk. When the feed returned, Rasheeda sat alone under a spotlight, her eyes red from crying but fierce with determination. She addressed the camera directly. "This isn't just my story. It's a warning. Secrets can destroy the ones you love. If you see red flags, speak up. Don't let fear chain you to a lie." Her words resonated, a poignant echo of the chaos that had erupted behind closed doors. Karlie approached, offering a supportive nod. "You're stronger than you know," she said. Rasheeda managed a small, grateful smile. "Thank you," she whispered. Together, they walked toward the hallway, leaving Kirk seated in the living room's gloom. The cameras panned to capture his solitary figure, a man undone by his own fears, the envelope of lies spread open at his feet like a torn veil. As evening descended, the Frost household settled into uneasy silence. Rasheeda retreated to her room, where her sister joined her, phones off but hearts heavy. Kirk lingered in the living room, scrolling through comments from fans, some offering support, others merciless in calling him a liar. He let the phone slip from his hand, tears staining his cheeks once more. In the shadows of the hallway, Karlie paused outside Kirk's door. She took a deep breath, then knocked softly. Kirk opened it, surprise flickering in his eyes. She entered, closing the door gently behind her. "I wish things were different," she said, voice unsteady. Kirk nodded, shame cooling his anger. "Me too," he whispered. They stood in the dim light, two people bound by truth and tragedy, each seeking a path forward. Downstairs, Rasheeda stared out her window at a sky turning indigo. She thought of Kirk's tearful apology, Karlie's unwavering loyalty, the friends who'd rallied at her side. She knew forgiveness wouldn't be a single moment, it would be earned day by day. Her fingers brushed the spot where Kirk had once held her hand in promise. The memory shimmered, fragile as a spider's web. The episode cut to a preview of the next installment, a tense family dinner where Rasheeda's parents would weigh in, a surprise twist as another secret surfaced, and Kirk's quest to win back Rasheeda's trust against mounting odds. Viewers were left with a final shot, Rasheeda alone in a candlelit room, her silhouette framed by the flicker of flame and shadow, eyes closed as if in prayer. The credits rolled over the music's somber notes, the screen fading slowly to black. The audience, hearts pounding, would return next week to witness whether love could survive a betrayal so deep, and whether the Frost family could emerge from the ashes of deceit stronger than before. As the dust settles on this jaw-dropping revelation, one thing is clear. The bonds of trust can shatter with the flick of a falsified page, and no secret stays buried forever. You've witnessed Kirk's desperate attempts to hide behind a fabricated dinner report, Karlie's unwavering pursuit of the unvarnished truth, and Rasheeda's heart-wrenching journey from love to betrayal. But the story doesn't end here. Will Kirk find a way to reclaim Rasheeda's trust, or has he burned the bridge beyond repair? Can Rasheeda heal from this deep wound and emerge stronger, or will the shadow of deception linger in every glance and every whispered doubt? The next chapter promises even more twists, whispered alliances, unexpected confessions, and the high-stakes fallout that could redefine every relationship in the Frost household. You won't want to miss a single moment as loyalties are tested, new evidence surfaces, and the question of forgiveness hangs in the balance. If this saga has you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button to let us know you're hooked. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the explosive developments ahead. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Rasheeda can forgive Kirk, or should she walk away for good? Which secret revelation shocked you the most, and what outcome are you rooting for? Your opinion matters, and we want to hear every theory, every prediction, and every bit of drama you think is coming next. Stay tuned, because the Frost family's roller coaster ride is far from over. With cameras rolling and emotions running hotter than ever, the next episode will pull back the curtain even further. Hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and join us as we dive headfirst into the aftermath of this dinner expose. Let us know in the comments how you would react if you were in Rasheeda's shoes. Would you demand the truth, confront the lie, or walk away forever? The fate of Kirk and Rasheeda hangs in the balance, and only you can help decide what comes next.